All right. Facebook still says I'm playing Call of Duty for some reason. But other than that, it looks like we're live. YouTube, Twitch. Twitch is still working on it as usual. There we go. All right. So this is going to be the first day of the Bonsai design sprint officially. Guess that kind of depends on what you mean by design sprint, because I've done sprints on it before, but those were more business and marketing sprints. This is more of a product design sprint, the first time we're going to be doing this. Now, up until this point, I've been mostly developing and coding straight on this project every day that I've been doing these live streams, at least. And that's because I had some technical aspects that I had to kind of work through before we could get to a point where doing a design sprint made sense. And now Bonsai is more of a template for starting a SaaS product, like a software company. It can pretty much do anything that you need it to, just depends on how it's configured. So now that I have that end of it complete, it's time to reverse back to the start, go back to first principles, try and decide or hypothesize what this product should be in its first iteration when it goes to market. Now, there's been about 9 different versions of it so far as I've been developing it that can do an assortment of different things, from being a basic membership site to having products sold on there, knowledge products, digital products, physical products, doesn't matter. Subscriptions are mostly where it's at. And then adding the learning management system on top of that, adding a circle integration on top of that so that it's almost more like a forum. And now for the next iteration, I'm starting to see something that's maybe even a little more social. And I'm not certain what that's going to be. That's why we're going to go through this design sprint process. So the design sprint process will, if you're not familiar with it, it's going to help us get from idea to prototype working in real people's hands by the end of this week. And we skip out on the software side of things to come up with just a design prototype. There's no code behind it. And typically Google, who came up with this process, and Jake Knapp, they do the 5-day design sprint process. We're gonna do the 4-day, which was popularized by AJ and Smart. AJ and Smart is a design sprint agency based in Berlin. So they've taken the 5-day sprint and they've condensed it into 4. We're going to do that because in this case, where I am acting as the product chief, owner, designer, engineer, customer rep, and marketing expert, all of the above, I think I'm going to be able to move on this a lot quicker. The point of doing an open source design sprint is so that we can bring more people into the fold as this gets going. But I think this will be something we'll be doing once a month at least. That's my goal. If I had a full team around me, I think doing it once a week could be possible. But since I'm going to have to then go from once we get positive feedback on the user testing, then we'll go to the development stage. And I want that to be just as quick as the design sprint was. So hopefully we can develop the prototype within a week. That would be next week or the week after. We'll see how it goes. So I'll be able to move on this pretty fast. We're going to be doing most of the work, workshop type work on Monday and Tuesday. And as you can see here on the screen, we're defining the challenge today. We're producing a mass of solutions. Usually in the traditional sprint, those are split into 2 different days. Then tomorrow we'll be going on to curate and vote on best solutions. Then we'll define the prototype with a storyboard. The next day is when we're going to design the prototype, so that's a little more designer specific. If you are some type of designer, you might be a lot more interested in that. It's not, the whole team's not required to be there. You set up people for the user test the next day, and then you run 5 user tests. So these last 2 days don't usually involve the whole team. These first 2 days do. Now, I want to be using some free resources to go along with this. So here's the John Zeratsky. He was one of the authors of the original book. He has a Medium article that breaks down the schedule. So I've never timed myself doing one of these by myself. I've never done the whole thing by myself, like by the book. So we'll see how long this takes me. I'm gonna sprint on it, so I'm gonna go as quick as possible. So this is basically half of the day that we've got set up right here. And then we'll be moving on to Tuesday. Also today, we're cramming that in today. And so we'll be doing the lightning demos and the sketches. So basically we're doing 2 main things. We're mapping out the user journey, and then we're sketching solutions. To preface that, we're really defining what the problem is that we want to solve first. So with that said, I'm just gonna get things situated a little bit here. Now, as you might be able to see, I have some post-it notes behind me, but I've got something that I think will work better probably, especially for terms of speed. I've got this iPad set up right here, and I've never really done a digital sprint before. Last time I did a sprint was probably like a year or so ago, before the whole pandemic. So we're gonna test this out and see how it goes. I know there's an app called Mural that would work really well for digital or remote sprints. I was looking into it when I was looking at remote sprints like a year or 2 ago maybe, and I wanted to do one. And I was asking myself why people don't do remote sprints more often. And I had decided that because in order to do a design sprint, there has to be a very large problem that you're trying to solve, and it has to be worthy of getting those people in the room together to work on it. And I think if it only warrants a remote sprint, then it doesn't actually deserve the full focus of everybody. Therefore, it's not a large enough problem to warrant a sprint. But that's how I felt before the pandemic hit. So now there's obviously going to be a lot of changes with that. I think sprints will mostly be done remotely in the future. So this will be part experimental on how that will work. All right, let's get started. Let's just go through this checklist first, briefly. So I've actually got a bulleted version of it. This is the checklist that we're going through. I'm Mason. If you guys don't know, if you just randomly came across this video, I'm working on a product called Bonsai. It used to be a learning management system, and now we're going to do a sprint and find out what it's going to be in the future. because I think it's going to be something a little different. I already gave you guys a introduction to sprints. All right, so now we're gonna go over the rest of this. We're gonna come up with our long-term goals. We're gonna come up with a list of sprint questions. Then we're gonna make our map, our user journey map. We're gonna take a short break. Then we're gonna ask the experts, which in this case, I think it's just gonna be me. I have some research compiled that we can kind of go through. We'll go through how might we notes, and I'll tell you what those are. Then we're gonna be just picking targets from the map, doing lightning demos, deciding who will sketch. Then we do the sketch. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be the one doing the sketching. Then we'll do the 4-step sketch, which is notes, ideas, crazy eights, and solution sketch. So let's get started on this long-term goal. Get optimistic. Ask, why are we doing this project? Where do we want to be in 6 months, a year, or even 5 years from now? Write the long-term goals on a whiteboard. All right. This one, it should, I think some of them have the time set on them, but this one is not showing up. Oops. So it's going to go from 10:15 to 11:30. I don't think these times really matter for me. I think I should just do them as quick as I can. Because if I could do a Monday sprint myself in a couple hours, that would be cool. So let's sprint it. So the why for me is I I think that education probably has always been free in a way. I pretty much got my education for free. I found ways to get it for free if it wasn't for free. I didn't have enough money like through, I don't know. I don't know if I was expecting to get support from like family or whatever just because that was traditional, but I didn't really have anyone offering to pay for me to go to college, and I didn't want to go into debt because I knew it was going to be expensive. I wanted to be very well educated. And I think just by then I had realized that you could find everything for free online. And now I've been doing this for 10 years. That's pretty well known to most people now. That's a lot more widely accepted that you can find a really good education online on YouTube University, basically. But yeah, I just want to help people realize that more, I guess. Even though it's pretty well known by now, there's still a lot of people that don't know that all the best professors are on YouTube, basically. There's exceptions, but that's part of my why is debt. It's messed up. You can't like even bankrupt or out of it. I think you can die out of it, but that's about it. And then you don't have to pay $50 or $100 or $200,000 for an education. I just want to help that mission along, basically. And even where we are today, with all the cool tools we have, like Zoom and Teachable and Circle and Facebook, and the list goes on, I think there's tons of room for improvement. I've kind of spent my entire life wanting to get into UI design for education. So I want to improve the UX by improving some of the UI as well. Of course, there'll be innovations and features, but I want it to look really good. Clean. So let's go to a 6 month, a year. And what was it, a 5 year? In 6 months, I think there's a huge gap to fill with a lot of groups, such as the future moving from Facebook groups to Circle groups. I think Circle is really cool, but Facebook definitely had a lot to offer. People aren't leaving Facebook because it didn't have enough to offer. It was just too much. It would sell your data and manipulate you. So that's the main reason why I think Facebook, everyone leaving Facebook leaves a gap for what the new social, I guess. Circle isn't as social. So I'd like to fill the Facebook gap. I'd like to help improve networking and information flow. Basically increase increase the amount of information you can obtain while decreasing the amount of time that you have to spend on the app. Just say bandwidth. In 1 year, I would like to provide groups such as the Future Pro Group with their own iOS apps. And let's see. Instead of 5 year, let's just say 2 year. I'd like to be doing VR apps. Potentially Android. So 6 months is web, 1 year is mobile, and 2 years is VR. That's kind of the timeline that I see. If I had to say, like, I don't know, let's push it, let's say a 3 year. That's still pretty short term. I think that's good. We can say this is the we'll say it's a 2 to 3 year. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. So let's move on from that. And we'll go to list sprint questions. Okay. Get pessimistic. Ask, how could we fail? Turn these fears into questions you could answer this week. List them on a whiteboard. How do we fail? Okay, I think we fail by creating something generic. We fail by creating something used for bad, which I would consider selling people's data to manipulate them, or even just money in general, going after the money instead of the true purpose. Fears. mean, most companies fail when they run out of money. So that's one, but I don't think that's really relevant to the product. In some ways it is. No interest. Value. Or funding. And I think that all comes from the value. Which, how do we not create value? I think that'd be by creating something generic. But generic isn't inherently bad, and unique isn't inherently good. So it's not something generic, something unique that we're looking for. It's something valuable. We fail if we don't create a valuable tool. That seems pretty obvious. So how do we measure whether we create value? How do we define value? Just gonna write that. How do we define and measure value? I'm just gonna leave that for now because that seems pretty obvious insight to me. Like, how do we fail? We don't create value. Is that always how that question is answered? I don't know. I don't remember. Okay, well, with one person we were able to get through an hour and 15 minutes in probably about 15-20 minutes. Making good time so far. Make a map. List customers and key players on the left. Draw the ending with your completed goal on the right. So our target user would be someone very similar to someone in the pro group, myself included. But I'm just going to say pro member. And then on the right, we have an end goal. And I guess our most relevant goal here would be improving networking and info flow. I think we need to flesh out these goals more. So the user is a pro member of some sort. That could be with the future community, that could be with pretty much any community. And then the goal would be it could be anything from finding tribe to did I just spell getting wrong? Getting work or hiring. Aha moment. Could be some that's related to the flow of information, I'd say. So it's mostly networking and info. Info could get you a job, it could help you hire somebody, and generally just through finding your tribe. You could come across these aha moments, which could be a new piece of insight, piece of intel, information that could lead to you making more money, basically. So, finding tribe, you make more money. But that's a little slippery because you're just saying it could be used for money, but that's not what I meant, used by money. I meant that the ethics of the company could become corrupt. So I think definitely one of the intentions of this tool would be to be able to make more money off of it. So I'd say those are the two biggest goals, is find tribe and make more money. But those other ones work as well. Let's start with find tribe. So if we're using this context of a future pro group, then a pro member, they may have already found their tribe because they're in the pro group, but there's many different types of people in the pro group. There's designers, there's people who are into it. I mean, just think of how many different types of designers there are. Motion designers, fashion designers, art, architecture, 3D, print, typography, iconography, UI, UX, etc. And that's just designers. Then there's filmmakers, writers, all different types of artists, business people. So I think the goal is to really help people find those people that are most like them and can most help them and help each other. I think that happens through these subgroups. Finally, make a flow chart in between showing how customers interact with your product. Keep it simple, 5 to 15 steps. All right, so start with a pro member. I think it would be basically a search or browse functionality. Pretty simple. And then you would join. Interact. That might seem a little oversimplified, but I think that's okay. 5 to 15 steps. List customers and key players on the left. Draw. Okay, I think when I've done design sprints in the past, I think we'll list multiple journeys that they could take. So say it's find tribe. It could also be getting work or hired, making more money, aha moment. Consulting is basically the same as getting hired. You could learn, which is basically the aha moment. And all of those lead to making more money. Okay. That was easy enough. We don't need to overcomplicate things for now. We can later, if we want to. All right, so now would be time for the break, and then we'll come back and ask the experts. I'll show you some of the research that I've kind of compiled on the matter. So I'm going to take a short, maybe 10-15 minute break, and I'll be back in a little bit. All right, let's keep cruising. We're moving on to Ask the Experts. Interview experts on your sprint team and guests from the outside. Aim for 15 to 30 minutes each. Ask the vision, customer research, how things work, previous efforts. Pretend you're a reporter. Update long-term goal questions, map as you go. So I've done this a bit along the way. I've met with, for example, some team members from the future who run their software. And I've gone into depth, like I've probably done about 3 hours worth of interviews so far combined. Actually longer than that, probably 4 or 5. So I've gained quite a bit from that. I have those videos recorded so I can refer back to them. But when it comes to developing this new version of the product, we haven't discussed that much. So with this product, I'm scratching my own itch. It's a concept of making the product for yourself so that it's easier to know how to make it. It's easier to refer to yourself when you have a question of how a product should be. And when you're making it for yourself, you tend to be a little bit more passionate about it. So I can kind of refer to myself as an expert as well. Now, I do have a conversation pulled up. I'll probably make this small, kind of hide it behind the iPad for a minute till I see, because this is from a private group. So when the Future Pro Group was talking about going to Circle from Facebook, Ben Burns posted in December, about a month ago, and he was just asking if anyone had any questions or objections. There was 144 comments, which is a very high amount of comments for a post in here. So there's definitely a lot of interest. I'm just going to read them since I don't really want to show them or reveal anyone's identities, but let me just go through and read a couple of these points that people had made out. So for those of you unfamiliar first, let me cover this. Now, I've been developing on Circle, so for some reason there's a weird bug. I can't even access the Futures Circle right now because it takes me to one of my expired accounts. But I can't even go to my active account. So I'll have to talk to their dev team about why this redirect is happening. I've tried it in multiple browsers, devices. It's weird. So I'll just have to show you guys what it looks like from the home page for now. If you haven't heard of it, basically it's built for communities. And it can do most of what Facebook Groups does for a community. So I think that's the big place where it's really shining right now, as people are making migrations from Facebook Groups to Circle. It's set up very similar to Slack in the sense that you have this sidebar right here, and then you have different spaces. You can call them like groups, and then you have different topics, I believe they call them, these little sub-threads. Pat Flynn, he's a big blogger in the space. He's moved to them. It's pretty basic right now. So, I mean, here it looks like they have some analytics in the back end. I haven't actually seen that. I think the coolest thing is all the integrations. I was able to integrate it with WordPress to be used as a single sign-on as well as embedded within a WordPress site. It kind of replaces what could be considered like the comment section or whatever. You could even just replace that and it turns it more into like a discussion, a forum with posts and replies, and it's just a lot more in depth. So it's pretty basic. I really need to go dig through the features so far and see like how people are using it to interact and what kind of conversations are happening. But let me just read over a couple of the concerns that people were having. Some people are asking about aggregating the content over. Let me read all the replies. I'm assuming most of the content isn't going to be migrated over. Ben was asking what subgroups should we create? Is there a list? Subgroups that we support will require membership, yeah. Circle platform require each of us. Okay. So I asked Ben the other day, he didn't get back to me yet, about thoughts on the subgroups and what's going to happen with those. It looks like they're just going to add them as threads, as in a space individually. So I haven't seen those pop up yet. And that's really where I want to focus, is working on the subgroup features. So most of the criticism or hesitation would be from people not wanting to add yet another platform. And I think that's how most people feel. So that's not something you can really deal with if you want to get off one of the big platforms. A lot of people in favor of leaving Facebook. More secure. Paying members in the subgroups only. More discussion on the subgroups. Yep, for sure. Does someone have a list? Okay, there is a list of them. Yet another platform. Another complaint. I expect to be less active on Facebook without the pro group. I think so as well. I think that's kind of the point. That's just about all I use Facebook for. Tracking events. Yep, I think that's the biggest thing. All right, so I'm gonna notate that down. Okay, obviously the subgroups has been a big point. Then we have yet another platform. I'm just going to put that. And then events. Event tracking. There's got to be a good third-party solution for that somewhere. No mobile app. I think Circle will probably have that coming out in the next 6 months, I would think. Dead. Some people are complaining that the other groups that have moved to Circle have the interactions dropped off a lot. Let's see. Ben asked what would make it easier. Not a huge fan of Circle. Scrolling, we'll see a post in the pro group in our feed, then we interact with it without having to manually go to Circle every day. I think that's part of yet another platform. But let me just add that. It's kind of happens organically. I don't know, because people are already on Facebook. Are the conversations searchable? Can we save them, categorize them? Will we be able to connect privately or personally? Will they be archived? Everything is searchable, savable. If you mean downloadable, I don't think so, but you can follow specific post and get a notification when someone replies. We'll assume this is feedback we can always pass on to Circle, see how they improve their experience. So I think someone's saying they really like the bookmarking feature, basically, of Facebook, where you can save and categorize. There's some deeper discussion. Facebook doesn't like us monetizing this group. Facebook has no API support with groups, so you can automate anything. Privacy concerns. I'm just reading all of these comments, so bear with me. Yet another platform. Someone literally says that. So we can put like 5 checks next to that one. What does Circle look like on mobile? A mobile app. I think that is a big one because I bet most of the interactions within the group happen on a Facebook mobile. Most people just think they won't be logged on to Circle as much as they will Facebook. Which is kind of obvious, but definitely something to address. But I think everyone's just skeptical right now. I think it's until it's going to require some time to see if it's worth them opening up a new tab, basically. Glad to keep the networking primarily on LinkedIn, not Facebook for connections. I'd like to time block specific check-ins, notifications, essentially. It's such a big thread. So one of my friends made a comment that I thought was most interesting. I'm on a couple other groups that moved to Facebook to Circle, and the interaction significantly died off. It's a great platform with lots of features, but you have to be more intentional about it. In some course groups I'm part that moved to Facebook, from Facebook to Circle, I don't have official numbers, but I'd say it feels like maybe 25% of the activity as there was in the Facebook group. That's a 75% decrease in activity in my estimation, so it'd be interesting to see how much people stay engaged from the pro group on Circle. Event trainer dead. Low interactions. A lot of people talk about that. Confirm his thoughts. A lot of people just hoping it will be archived, which it has been. I mean, this is good basis for customer research or for expert research, but most of these people are just expressing fears, not something that has actually been a problem yet. There's no direct messaging. Different ways, including some. All right, Ben kind of wrote a summary, conclusion, comment to this. It's basically summing up everything that I've noted here. Easier to navigate content. I think the navigation is actually easier than Facebook in that, but it can still be improved. Okay, well that concludes the 144 comment thread. Okay, interview experts on your sprint team and guests from the outside. Aim for 50 to 30 minutes each. Ask about the vision, customer research, how things work, previous efforts. Pretend you're a reporter. Update long-term goal questions and map as you go. So one of the people's biggest concern is this dead or low interactions, and also yet another platform. Those are kind of related. So basically the fact that people won't be opening up Circle in a new tab as often as they'll just have Facebook automatically open. Which I'm all for this move, because as much as I like streaming on Facebook, it's not really a good social media platform to be spending a lot of time on. So I'm interested in those two, how they're related, but I'm wondering if that's actually a bad thing. Because a lot of times on Facebook, there's just a lot of noise, people asking questions that have already been asked 100 times, or just general talk that's not really related to anything. So it will actually be decreasing the noise the more because I'm wondering if that could actually decrease the noise and increase the quality of the conversation, actually. Because I can definitely say, myself included, sometimes you're just scrolling and you just see a question that you could answer. You don't really have to. You're probably not the best person to answer it, but you just kind of feel like flexing your knowledge muscle for a minute, so you just automatically reply. Happens organically. I think that's related as well. Bookmarking, I don't think that's a huge one at the moment. Navigation, no mobile app. That should change shortly, so I don't think that's a big deal. Event tracking is a big deal. Subgroups, event tracking. So our main ones that we really walk out with are subgroups, event tracking, and navigation. Navigation is a little biased because I'm really always interested in the UI and UX. So with event tracking, I don't think we focus on that right now because I think there's most likely a third-party solution that can do that really well within Circle. The subgroups, I think those can be done within certain threads, but I think there's a better UI and UX for it. And that's related to navigation. So these are still very related, I would say. The networking and the information flow, finding the tribe, making more money, subgroups and navigation. So finding your tribe would be the subgroup, and then basically searching, browsing, and joining would be the navigation. Interaction would probably happen within Circle. Okay. Update long-term goals, questions, map as you go. Yeah, I say these all fall within what I had already written, so obviously being dead would be a bad thing, but just having a lower interaction, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So most people's concerns that I can really help with in this version would be, I guess that I should focus on in this version, would be subgroups and navigation. And that's already what I had in mind. So a lot of this sprint work is just defining things that I already know, but it's good to write it out. Okay, so moving on from asking the experts, now we explain how might we notes. Distribute whiteboard markers and sticky notes, reframe problems as opportunities. Start with the letters HMW on the top left corner. Write one idea per sticky note, make a stack as you go. Okay, how shall I do this in here? I don't think I can draw shapes. I'll probably just do divider lines. I need to work on my writing. It's kind of hard when it's upright like this. When you're left-handed. Okay. All right, this one's a really good exercise, and I want to have my full focus and attention on this one. So I'm going to take a quick little break and then come back with full energy on this. We'll say probably another 5 to 10 minute break. My K's are so bad. There we go. All right, let's get back to work. So we're going through the how might we notes. Should probably explain this a little bit. How might we is a way to form a problem easily into a question. So we're going to take our problems that we're facing and addressing, and we're going to frame them as, how might we do this? Let's see, this is quite a long exercise, so let's try and take some time and go deep on this. I think I even might like to, let's see if they have any more information on here. Okay. I don't think there's really any guidelines. I think we can look at the different problems that we're addressing, the different goals, the different potential failures. I think we take all this information in and we come up with as many how might we's as we can. This will be kind of a mostly silent exercise. I might think out loud a little bit, since I'm the only one here. I know that seems like kind of a generic thing, but I find new people in the group every day that I didn't even know they did this thing or that thing, and I think there's a lot of room for growth in the networking aspect of it. Partnering could be something as simple as like commission or revenue sharing. Doesn't have to be hiring someone. I think those are kind of the 3 degrees. You might consult first, hire second, and partner with third. To create products. These could be physical products, knowledge products. I'm thinking almost as like master classes. For example, if somebody knew one aspect of a masterclass and someone knew the other, you could basically do a full product between two people. Discuss important topics, bring pros together to obviously learn. To Okay, these are mostly bigger picture questions that I'm asking myself. If we want to address more of the concerns of the group, I think a lot of how my ways would be addressed by these subgroups and developing the platform for that. I think what would form these deep interactions, how might we encourage deep interactions? How might we facilitate It seems like events are kind of the basis of forming a bond. Right? I mean, you form a bond through a type of an event. It could even be just a direct message. Or tempted to start answering that question, but we're only generating how might we questions, not answers. Well, that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like 9 post-it notes or so. I think that's pretty good. Let's just review our notes, see if I can come up with any more. I mean, there's obvious ones. How might we provide free education? I don't think it has to be free, but I do like the idea of having it very close to free. If they're willing to go digging. If you want it fast, you'll pay more. And let's see what were my other long terms. School debt. Okay, I'm gonna pull up some post-its so that I can just copy these down real quick without scrolling. School debt. These notes might fire some more ideas. I think so. How might we eliminate debt? Fill Facebook's shoes. I think that comes mostly back to the complaints back here, which is yet another platform and happens organically, dead low interactions. I think that all comes down to high engagement and yeah, I mean that comes into daily time spent, where'd my little pencil thing go? There we go. That all comes down to high engagement. Amount of times you log in per day, the amount of time you spend on it when you do, the amount of days that you log in per week, per year, how long you use it until that falls off, lifetime customer value, all of that really comes into engagement. I mean, that's what Facebook has to give, is high engagement. There's a lot that it doesn't have to give. So how might we improve networking? Improve flow of valuable info. How might we create something generic? Create something unique. How might we create something of value? Create something used for good. How might we define good? How might we define value? How might we help? I know there's like a whole taboo thing with calling people users, but I mean, what else are we gonna call them? They're users, okay? They're using a tool. Customers, that's probably better, but it's a little bit longer. Help users make more money. How might we help users find their tribe? Help users interact. How might we help users join? Okay. I think that's more than enough. It's definitely more how might we's than I do in like a post-it note session. Okay. Organize how might we notes. Stick all the how might we notes onto a wall in any order. Move similar ideas next to one another. Label themes as they emerge. Don't perfect it. Stop after about 10 minutes. So I think I've already done this. I'll just come here in the left sidebar and kind of do some footnotes or whatever. So I think I can point arrows from a lot of these. So how do we help users make more money? How do we help them find their tribe? That one's definitely related to this. Bring pros together. And that's related to making more money. Or if I want to like start color coding. Encourage deep interactions, provide free education. I think
I think that's like the core question. How do we help users find their tribe? How might we? Because it all points to that. How do you help users make more money? How do you help them interact? How do you help them join? Joining's easy if they've found their tribe. Bring pros together to I think the pro group as a whole, you can bring them together to find their tribes, which would be the subgroups. I think to get them here, you help them find their tribe. I mean, these can go a lot deeper than that, but they're still related on a parent level. Provide free education, eliminate debt, fill Facebook shoes, high engagement. Is this a good metric of success? It can be, but not necessarily. Improve networking, improve flow of valuable info, create something unique. So these two are separate, these three, these five, I guess. These are more like philosophical, ethics-based. Value, how do we define value? That is a deep question. How do you define good? So these will be, should freeze up? Philosophical. There we go. Okay, most of this is just related to find a tribe, but some of it's really technical. So let me find a color for technical. just be kind of a purple color. Lab. This one's kind of not solved yet. Deep interactions, facilitate deep interactions. Engagement. Improve networking, improve flow, valuable info. Okay, I think that'll do for that exercise. It took a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but that's okay. Each person has 2 votes, can count his or her own votes, and even the same note twice. Move winners onto your map. Since I'm doing a solo design sprint, it's kind of like playing chess with yourself. So now I would go through these and find a way to vote on them. Let's see. I'll use red since that's not a color I've used yet. Yeah, I think all of these come through finding a tribe, so I will vote finding tribes. And then facilitate deep interactions through events. That's definitely one. How might we create high engagement? I'm just voting, not a final vote. These two happen through finding a tribe. How might we define value? And this one pretty much takes the cake. Oops. That's weird. Okay. And then I'll do, wait, do we select a winner? Each person has 2 votes. Use the same note twice. Move winners onto your map. So now we're going to pick a target, circle your most important customer, and 1 target moment on the map. Okay, before we go there, we're going to move the winners onto the map. Okay, we already have it on the map as Find Tribe. We're gonna do make more money. Under here, we'll do attend events. I'm just gonna write down all the ones that were voted on real quick. So there's Find Tribes, events. How might we fill Facebook's shoes in creating high engagement? How might we create high engagement? How might we define value? How might we help users find their tribe? Which is the number 1 as well. Engagement. It's hard to read. Okay. How do we move defining value on the map? That's the question I have. Move winners into your map. I don't know how this works, but let's try it. Because it's possible there's a mechanism we could build into the product which would help us define value. Okay. Circle your most important customer and one target moment on the map. The team can weigh in and the decider makes the call. We only wrote down one customer, it'd be a pro member, but I mean, if we wanted to expand upon that, it could be any member of a any member of a private group, but we're going with pro member, and then the, what they call it, target moment. The goal would be that once you join, you've found your tribe, and then you would interact. But you won't know that you found your tribe until you interact. So, the key goal, the target goal, start at the end. Start by imagining your end result and risks along the way, then work backward and figure out the steps you'll need to get there. Those are just key ideas. Okay, so we've completed the map, which is day 1 of the traditional sprint, but we are doing 4-day sprint, so this is the first half. Next we'll be moving on to the sketch. All right, since we're moving on to a new big section, I'm going to take a little break. I'll probably eat some quick food too, so I think I'll upload this as a separate video. So I'm going to cut the stream for now, get some dinner in, and then I'll be back in probably the next half hour to hour. All right, peace out, friends.